right. It is Thanksgiving week here in the nation's capital. We have a lot to give thanks for. And
but only if you want to. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal yesterday that there's a lot of people that we give thanks, but we really don't mean it. So if you mean it, great. If you don't,
Well, we're going to get into that and a whole lot more. And one guy we give thanks to is Thom Loverro, who's from the Washington Times, who's going to come and join us as we continue to dissect the season that is. And with that and a whole lot more, here's Riggo.
Yeah, that fiasco on Sunday, I'm not quite prepared right this very second to deal with it, so that's a good thing.
Most people are.
We've got Dr. Loverro to come on and help,
do the autopsy.
To ease the pain and maybe inject a little Novocaine where it's proper, or in my case, morphine. That would work better. Well, Todd, you know what I'm wearing today, don't you? Can you figure this out?
You got your flannels, your pre-hunt gear.
No. It ain't pre-hunt. This is my hunting shirt. I had to wear it today because I will be leaving a week from today, and I will be heading out to the Midwest, my home environs, Centralia, Kansas, and the hunt for red Chongo will continue. I had to throw that in. I had to change the name a little bit. Remember that movie, Hunt for Red October?
Red October, yeah.
Wasn't it The Hunt for Red October?
Yeah, Red October.
So
Great movie.
The Hunt, yeah, with Gene Hackman, wasn't
it? Sean Connery, too?
Yeah, exactly.
Great movie.
Was he? I'm trying to think. I can't remember, but it was basically there was a Russian sub they were looking for, right?
Yes, gonna go rogue.
It's out there a little ways, but yeah, I'm all prepared. And by the way, Chongo is smoking cigarettes like he. Oh, where's the punk? It ain't now. He actually is loading up on Camels and Lucky Strikes because he knows I'm serious this year. I ain't bullshitting around.
He's like,
Chongo's day is come.
Okay,
it's time.
We'll get reports from the Great West, from Centralia.
You know, you got to figure this. Now, I'm not a guy that makes alibis. I've never thought of myself as that. But, I had to go, well, I got to lay some stuff out here. I give Chongo like 300. Well, I give him basically 51 weeks out of the year to do what he's got to do, right?
Frolic.
And I don't go out and I don't look over his shoulder and see what Chongo's doing today and what's Chongo going to do tomorrow and what does is he hanging out with and. Yeah, I don't do that. Do I have trail cams? Hell no. I'm a Daniel Boone type of guy. I'm Kit Carson incarnate. That's what I do. So I just go out and I got to go straight from scratch. I got to go out and look for sign, figure it all out, and I got to do this, like in 24 hours.
So you're tracking the Old West and with your great Indian trackers Danny Boone?
Yeah, well,
any new tools this
Todd,
year?
I got to be honest with you. No, that's not me.
No.
I do what I do every year. I read these stories. I get a magazine. It's hunting magazines, and the guys that there's a guy. It's kind of like they say about fishermen. You ever heard that? I think I probably told this over the years. They say that 10% of the fishermen catch 90% of the fish, and there's 90% of the fishermen catch the other 10%. I'm in that latter category, and it's the same way when it comes to hunting. But now I am very selective. I will see a ton of deer. I'm sure of that. I'd be very surprised. But like I said, there's different ways. I just read this latest article. It's like, if we would get snow, that's just like, that changes everything. Because then you don't even recognize your own property. And I've had this property for 50 years. And the first time I ever hunted it, 1997, and it didn't just snow before we got there. It snowed while we were there. I mean, it was so unusual, too, because it's the very beginning of December, and they don't get snow out there, but you got to remember that's over 25 years ago. But it was magical, and I remember sitting on my property, and I'm going, I don't even recognize my property, which was good, because I'd had it all those years. I'd had it probably up
160 acres?
Mm-hmm. I had it for about, at that time, 25. I've had it for over 50 now. But, yeah, snow changes everything, makes it all quiet, and just like, it's so much fun when that happens. The odds of this happening this year probably not very good, just because it's always so warm. That's the thing I'm hating. If you get out there and you get a little bit of rain and it's in the 50s, and sometime 2 years ago, I think I was out there in my shirt sleeves. It was up in the 70s.
But wasn't it the previous year? But I know one year you set up base camp and it looked like you were at the base of the Himalayas.
Yeah,
or something.
Right. There was snow, but it was a wet snow, and it came before I got there. And once I got in, and then I got set up, and it was just a matter of time, because then immediately it started warming up, and then more rain was coming, and that's when I had to strike camp and boogaloo right on out of there. Because, like I said, out there, unless the roads freeze, and if it doesn't you got a real problem getting around on the roads out there unless the roads are frozen. Because when they get wet, I won't. I've seen it in Montana years ago when I was doing that outdoor show. They got some gumbo out there. They talk about it in Kansas, and I'll go. They're both bad, but that stuff out there is just like Gear Lube 90. You can't stand up on it. If you're on any kind of an incline, you better be careful. You'll slip and fall on your rear end.
Wow.
I had that happen to me. Car went off the road.
First Wednesday after Thanksgiving opens the season
In Kansas. There's different I think the first Monday before Thanksgiving in Pennsylvania, so I think Pennsylvania, their deer season, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I remember Ron Saul, good friend of mine, the late Ron Saul, offensive left guard for the Washington Redskins for years. He told me, he was a big deer hunter, and I'm pretty sure that, but maybe they changed the law. It's been so long since we talked about it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm also looking forward to Thanksgiving. I've got my job is getting cut back, which is I'm kind of liking it, and I've already been thinking about what my chronology will be as how to prep. I'm in charge this year. In the past, I was in charge of the whole, the whole
entire
shebang.
kitchen.
I had the green beans, I had the mashed potatoes, I had the dressing, I had the gravy, I had the turkey.
You have a sous chef this year?
Well, yeah, I'm going to get a little help. I've got friends of Lisa Marie's cousins bringing mashed potatoes. My daughter Hannah is making green beans. I'm sure there'll be some other things. And then really what I've got now is the turkey, the dressing, and the gravy. Of all that stuff, the turkey's kind of semi... you got to do a little bit the night before. I'll brine the turkey, right? Put it in salt water and then pull it out and, dry it all off and rub it down with a little butter and, whatever, maybe some leaf lard, which is the lard from the intestines of a hog. It's not the belly fat.
Who doesn't know that?
I didn't.
Me.
I just got
And
to
I'm going to
thinking.
go with 98% of our audience.
Up until 2 years ago, I didn't know what it was either, and I grew up on a farm. But Coco, who's a baker, she does a great. My daughter
Coco's got some bacon game.
She's unbelievable.
She really is.
And there's a guy that she pulls on. He's got his own video, and his first name's John. I can't remember. And I enjoy him. He's and watching what he does. But and I'm telling you what, she kicks that stuff. She made a cake for my oldest daughter. Well, her sister. She only got one. I'm telling you what, it looked like it came out of a bakery. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The frosting and the taste, unbelievable. I mean, but she follows John, and John, he knows what he's talking about. So anyway, Coco may be making a pie. Like I said, Hannah will contribute the green beans. We got the mashed potatoes. When you get right down to it, and I'm trying to, oh yeah, and sweet potatoes, I'll do those because they're pretty simple. Coco wanted me to do a sweet potato casserole. Claims I did it last year, where you basically get the mashed potato. You take the sweet potatoes, you bake them, take them out of their skin, mash them all up with a little butter in them, and then you coat them with with marshmallows, and you stick them in the oven.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm going, whoa, dude, I'm backing it down. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a spring chicken anymore.
And Lisa Marie, you're like, don't worry, we got this. It's time for us to give thanks to you for all you do for us throughout the year. You don't have to cook a damn thing.
No, it ain't. That day will never happen. And it's kind of interesting. I love my wife, and she's a beauty, literally and figuratively. But what I was going to say is she has this unbelievable knack. Unbelievable. I've never seen anybody that can do it like she can. I get everything all done, right? It's all done. It's what you call turnkey. And she'll come in and say, is there anything I can help you with? It's almost like she knows what she's doing. She can't be that naive.
Yes. It's about 29 minutes. You should be done with this.
I can hardly wait on Thursday.
That's a skill in of itself.
It might be. Because it's so credible. But she makes sure there's a lot of people watching. She wants witnesses.
And I think you would agree it's a win-win situation.
Well, that part is true. As they say, I'm not sure I'd trust Lisa Marie to boil water, but I don't know. No, she actually can make she can make some stuff, but she has no interest in it, unfortunately.
We all have our strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. Well, you would think, though, at some point, if I drop dead tomorrow, she ain't far behind because she's going to starve. I'm just saying, wouldn't you? You kind of got to look out for old number one.
Uber Eats, this is out of control.
DoorDash is going to be, if I drop dead, buy DoorDash stock. All I can tell you is that. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to Thanksgiving. And, of course, we all know Thanksgiving wouldn't be what it was unless you had alcohol. Alcohol is the great equalizer on Thanksgiving.
It's much needed. It's part of the actual. It has to be part of the menu.
You have to have it, and yet you really don't need it. You know what I'm saying? It's
There's
like,
a fine line.
Oh yeah, everybody's. And then if you got to keep an eye on people, I think you have to. You almost need somebody to say, "I'm sorry, but the bar is closed." You've already had too much. I don't know what do they tell you nowadays when you're in a bar? Not that you would know, but when
It is daylight.
It
is daylight, Riggo.
I'm not trying to indicate anything here, but I'm just wondering because I'm sure the bartenders know. They always probably did, but I don't remember. In the old days, it was as long as you could keep your balance and hang at the bar, you could get another drink.
There's a few more liability issues these days.
Yes, exactly.
There is.
But there's something about when the bartender will say, and like I said, I don't know that you've ever heard these words, and I'm not. And I probably have heard them, but obviously didn't hear them. You know what I'm saying? I was told them, but I did not hear them. Like, well, whatever. Exactly. Well, not from that. It's just like, the bartender told you last night that you were being cut off, and I'm like, oh, he did.
Did I behave?
Anyway, that's my bullshit for today. What do you got?
All right, here we go, John. Thanksgiving week. We got a lot to be thankful for. One of our buddies, Thom Loverro of the Washington Times, longtime columnist, here to do an autopsy, a brief autopsy on last week's debacle, and a look ahead where we can start to give thanks. Welcome, Thom.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there.
Same to you. Let me start. I read I read them every week, but I read this one particularly. I was, okay, what's Thom going to say about this game and everything? I thought you did. I thought you summed it up pretty good. I think that, why don't you tell us what you wrote?
I liked how he wove in all the celebrities and who was there and who was there and who was there.
Yeah, and I think there was a little piece about R2D2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, RG Me, Jay-Z, Coach Gibbs, good community guys everywhere. Everybody was there. All the cool people.
Yeah, so, it had the feel of a big event, and then the game started.
Well, I told Todd last week before they play. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
That's okay.
Anyway, I was just saying that
it didn't live up to its expectations. That's for sure.
Well, I told Todd it was a must-win game.
It was.
And with the, like you get into that situation where, you got all these games to play. If you win out, it's like, yeah, but that, once you start down that slippery slope, it gets slipperier. I mean, and if there was ever a must-win game, I'm guessing Sunday would be that game.
Well, but there was the lowly Cowboys. They played on Monday Night Football. They are so banged up. John, do you realize their starting guards did not play? They got one of their all-pro guards did not play. Trayvon Diggs did not play. We already know the quarterback, Cooper Rush. I think I got his name right,
Yeah,
Tom.
I think that's right. Cooper's his first name.
The Commanders had plenty of rest, letting Jaden Daniels. I mean, all the odds and the pluses and the minuses. This was the proverbial trap game, but still on top of all that, the lowly Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
Tom, your observations, please.
Well, the fact that, John, that you thought it was a must-win, in a way, speaks to what I wrote in the column. We really didn't expect this to happen. I mean, I think most fans signed up for a slow learning process season where you saw increments of improvement. Maybe they win 6 games, maybe they win 7 over the season, and you see signs that things are going to get better with a young quarterback with a lot of promise and growing pains. Instead, we had gotten a 7-2 team that was competing for the NFC title with a rookie quarterback that played the position like no one had ever played it before. No one signed up for that.
It seems
like yesterday, that came out of left field.
Yeah,
so
that seems like yesterday.
Basically, where we are now is, in a way, kind of where we probably thought we were. The team was going to be going into the season. This is what everyone signed up for. Some steps back, some steps forward, and like again, a must game in the middle of November. I think most people would have signed up for that. Would have said, "Sure." I doubt it, but that's what's going to happen. But you're right. If you really have any hope of making it into an actual postseason play, this is a must game today, this Sunday.
Well, I would say, particularly from a psychological standpoint, I mean, now you would have lost 4 games in a row. You lost to a team that basically should be, playing Division I NCAA and maybe would struggle there. I'm talking about the Cowboys last week.
Tennessee's worse than the Cowboys.
And then you're coming in and you're bringing in a team from Tennessee that, they're not world beaters by it, but although they had a big upset so they're going to be ready, loaded for bear, to quote an old expression. They're going to have their hands full, and it's kind of interesting to see. Everybody would much rather have them be, what would it be, like 9-2 right now, or whatever it'd be.
Right.
So that's the preferred. But the reality is, you really get to see how this team will respond to the challenge, because, like I said, if they for some reason lose on Sunday, it doesn't mean the end of the world is near. It just means they're not who we thought they were, to quote Denny Green. They're just not, well, that's the opposite of Denny Green's quote.
Yeah, they are. Crown their ass.
But yeah,
we can take away the crown part now. Now reality has set back in.
Yeah, I don't think, because, weren't we talking about, 4 weeks ago, before the losing skid started, people were talking about maybe February, still playing in February. But I think Todd said it earlier, that this town and this team, fans across the country, they have been down for so long that it was, as the old saying goes, it was too good to be true. And as it turns out, I think it's going to end up being too good to be true. I think they got a shot at the playoffs. But the one thing is, you got to be realistic and say this team is building. Instead of thinking you're going to get rich overnight, that's not going to be the case.
Yeah, they basically, Adam Peters patched together a roster. I mean, he changed more than half the roster from the previous years. He didn't bring in any stars. He brought in players who, you'd shop in Costco to buy, with a coaching staff that never coached together before. And the surprise was that it all came together so quickly and successfully. That was the shock. What happened Sunday, what was, I guess, surprising in the moment, but in the big picture, we expected those kinds of moments. Now, that said, there's still some serious questions that need to be answered in terms of what's the problem with the offensive? Is it play calling? Is it the quarterback struggling? Or is he not being put in a position to be as successful as he can be? That's the big question right now. I think that the guy in the hot seat is Cliff Kingsbury, who I thought 3 or 4 weeks ago was going to be a head coach somewhere next year.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it.
And now he's got questions to answer.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is, and I think that's where, as gifted as Daniels is, that there is, in baseball, and I'm not a big baseball guy, but I've been told over the years that you get a young, hot pitcher in baseball, and, as the season progresses, these guys have been batting against good pitching for their entire careers. All of a sudden, they start to figure stuff out. And I'm just wondering if that's true with Jaden Daniels, is that these defensive coordinators are starting to do things, and Kingsbury needs to make some adjustments. But basically it's kind of like the bloom is off the rose right now. I mean, it was great, but still you got to deal with the fact that there's a lot of talent there, that they just got to put it together. And like anything else, it's you got to start with a win on Sunday. Otherwise, a loss on Sunday, I have no idea how devastating that would be. I think that you get to a point where that really sets things back a lot, because all of a sudden it's like people are walking out of the stadium and they're going, "What the hell am I doing? I let off first base too far and I got picked off."
And then you've got 2 weeks to stew on it because they're going into the bye week.
Right.
You don't want to go into the bye week with an angry fan base. You like to go into that bye week with people feeling good going into December. So yeah, it's important on a lot of different levels. You talked about the baseball comparison, John. The one thing I would say in baseball is you can't really make the adjustments like you can in football. if they've figured out what Jaden Daniels has been doing, he seems to have enough talent, and certainly with his legs,
Right.
seems to have the ability where they can respond to those changes, right?
Yes.
Tom,
Go ahead, Todd.
no, you go ahead.
Todd brought this up, and he's been kind of on it the whole season. Do you think Daniels is hurt, and they're not really telling the world the facts of life when it comes to his playing?
Well, I thought his ribs were bothering him the last couple weeks. I don't think that was the issue on Sunday. He ran the ball 7 times
Right.
for over 70 yards on Sunday. If
But don't
his
you
ribs
think
are hurting him,
Well,
I
hold
mean,
on a
I don't-
second, though. The only reason I would throw out that there may be the injury, nobody knows exactly what it is, if in fact it exists, but it might be an injury where running the football doesn't really cause you the kind of pain when you try to throw the football, because now you're twisting your torso. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I have no idea, but
Don't you think his accuracy has been off? I mean, it was October 20th, I believe, the Carolina game. His accuracy, you're seeing throws that outside of the first game, that's the one thing that he was noted for. He was getting the ball where it needed to go. It was crisp. It was tight. He could throw the bomb. His inaccuracy against Philly, he was not good. This past week, it was not good. That's why I still think there's something lingering there that they don't want to tell us.
Well, I'm not sure anymore, but I did think he was compromised a bit in the Pittsburgh and the Philly game, and I think the more he's compromised, the worse the decision making becomes for him. And that's an issue as well. He didn't make a lot of good decisions on Sunday. That said, they almost pulled it out.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well, Dallas is a poopy football team. So if they, that game was so bizarre in that fourth quarter, Tom. From what was a dreadful first half, I'm watching it with a bunch of fans. People were turned off. It was so bad. The missed field goals, what was it, 3-3? And it was just putrid. And again, this is the lowly Dallas Cowboys. No matter what, these teams find a way to get in each other's craw. If one team is pooping it, having a bad season, it's their Super Bowl. And for the Dallas fans, but I just go back to the point and just, again, these are facts. And as your column points out, if not for the fluke win against Chicago, this team is 6-6 and would have lost 5 of 7. And let's not discount that. That was a fluke of all-time flukes.
Well, and to back what Todd's saying up, I think is basically what you just said earlier, Tom. That's what everybody thought in the preseason. That was the team, with the flukes, and once again, the Chicago game. This is what we thought this team would be at this point in the year. But so they overachieved for a while, and now they're kind of coming back to where they are. But I thought the last 2 games in particular, the offense is just that's been Tress Way's going to wear his leg out if
all that early season rest.
I guess he's ready to go. I don't know.
They can't run the ball. They can't get the ball to McLaren. It's there's a lot going on here. Tom, your thoughts?
I always think that we don't see what goes on in practice. It's difficult to make judgments on some questions that come up, like the question of why aren't they using Luke McCaffrey more? I think he's got 3 catches in 6 games. I was told what a smart receiver this guy was going to be. He certainly comes from good bloodlines from his father and his brother. And it just seems like, they're not making the best of the options that are available, or they literally have no options available other than Terry. What about the tight ends, besides Zach Ertz, to use? It just seems like they're not responding to what's going on the field in front of them. Again, I'm never a guy who thinks I know more than the coaches on the sideline. Like I said, we have information, but we don't have knowledge. So we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. But just on Sundays, it doesn't look like they're responding to what the other team is doing.
So as they head into this weekend's game, what are you thinking of the outcome, if you don't mind my putting you on the spot? You don't have to necessarily make a prediction, but if you wanted to, we wouldn't keep you from it.
No points, Brett.
Well, Washington's they're banged up. Eckler is in concussion protocol. They've got an offensive lineman. I think Wiley had a concussion. Brian Robinson, missed most of the game on Sunday. So that means their two running backs are in question, for Sunday's game. That said, I think they win this one at home. I don't think it's pretty, but I think they win this one at home. I think it'd be, I could see, it's funny because this offense was putting up 35, 38 points a game earlier in the season. And even though the defense, wasn't that good and they can't stop anyone with the run, I thought, well, as long as they keep outscoring the other team, they can live with the defense liabilities. I think they're going to have to do that again on Sunday. I think they're going to have to put some points on the board. I think they can, but I think they're going to have to put about 30 points up to win.
I had an interesting observation. It just occurred to me that if you look at it, they've got their mindset. I have to give them this credit, and that is, I honestly believe that they don't think they're out of any game if it's a close game. And that's a very good thing to have on your side. There's, psychologically speaking, the way, Chicago, complete fluke. You'd never, if you did it 100 more times, maybe you do it one out of 100 type deal, maybe 1,000. I have no idea. But the fact that it did happen, it puts in the back, and then the fact, like you said, Tom, they almost pulled this thing out. So they don't give up. And that's something I think that's important to know, because they played so poorly against Dallas. They could have very easily went out there for that last drive when they hit McLaren for the big bomb and just kind of went through the motions and, slumped their shoulders and head. But they didn't do that. So there is some good things to look at this team. It seems like they've got some character. Now it's when it's really going to come to the fore when you're playing a team like Tennessee on Sunday.
What's interesting, I was in the locker room after the game, and I saw Bobby Wagner. This is 20 minutes after the game ended, at least. Bobby Wagner was still in his full uniform, and he was standing in front of the offensive lineman lockers talking to Sam Cosmi and another one of the offensive linemen. And it wasn't a heated conversation or anything, but they were in some kind of deep conversation for about 10 minutes. And it was very unusual scene because, like I said, Bobby Wagner's still in pads, full uniform, everything at that point. And I didn't get a chance to ask him what they were talking about. He probably wouldn't have told me. But when you talk about character, this is the guy who's supposed to be one of the leaders of the team. And I'm just wondering if there was some kind of soul-searching moment that went on there between those guys. And if so, how they'll respond on Sunday.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent observation, because I think that they definitely, after the way things happen on Sunday, that's exactly where you end up going, how in the hell did this happen? So, well, Tom, we'll let you head over there and get started on your turkey, and we will see you hopefully in the near future. And from Todd and me, and I'll let Todd say it himself, we wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for coming on our show with us today.
Thank you, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to both of you.
Thanks, Tom.